right, so today I am joined by Eli Fishman, writer for Double G Sports and content creator for his own channel, Talking Ball with Eli Fishman. Eli, thank you for joining and sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to talking some baseball.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. So, what I was kind of thinking is first we start off with some questions about what you do. For people watching, and for me personally, I'm curious as well. You're big with interviewing players. That's what you do most on your YouTube channel, and it's a lot of affiliated guys and some past players and some current players as well. At what point did you realize that reporting and interviewing was something that you were interested in?
Actually, when I was probably 10 years old is when I actually did my first interview. When I was 10 years old is when I decided and found out that I wanted to be a reporter. Probably starting at 8 years old, I went to Seton Hall University baseball games. Down the road, they're a pretty good D1 program, and I sat behind home plate like a scout. And I talked up the scouts. Like imagine this little 8-year-old talking up, going up to the broadcasters between innings and asking them random questions, and going up to the scouts like this 8-year-old with a little notebook. Hey, what'd you have on that pitch? So I was like that kind of kid, and would just go talk to the players and all that. And at that point, I was also collecting baseballs and getting autographs and all that. So I was that kind of baseball kid. And then at some point, I think it was 9 years old. I was 9 years old when I sat down at my desk like this and turned on an iPad and started talking about baseball and talking about football and posted those to my YouTube channel. And as a surprise to me, I both had a lot of fun with it. They got a couple hundred views, which was probably less than that actually, but it was still crazy for me. And then so when I was 10, I think I was 10, then I went to Seton Hall, and instead of doing the scouting thing, I started doing interviews and made my own show and actually broadcasted into my phone on my Google website, which is absolutely horrible and is now non-existent. And so from there, I got press passes to the Somerset Patriots, who've been a massive help and have taught me so much, and being able to, talk to them about the business and all that, and interviewing players. And then that's turned into opportunities with affiliated guys. So, and then opportunities writing as well.
Do you remember that first interview you did at 8 years old or 10 years old? You said.
It was Ryan Ramiz, who great guy, and I've talked to and known for a while now, actually, because he was a freshman in college at Seton Hall, and he just had, a little RBI base hit during the game, and I interviewed him for like a minute, and I still have the audio. It's so bad. It's so cringy. But yeah, I think and he also wound up getting drafted by the Mariners. Unfortunately, he just got released as part of the whole COVID release pool. But it was cool that he had a lot of success in his career.
So you've continued through the pandemic to interview players like via Zoom, and I know you've gone through Instagram Live and stuff. How has that been for you? Is that like an adjustment at all, or is that, how has that been just in general?
When I started doing interviews with affiliated guys, actually, I did them over the phone and on FaceTime. So, I mean, that part of it, I feel like honestly, I wouldn't say I like it more, but there are some positives and negatives to doing it over Zoom, because I feel like you're in the comfort of your home. You're talking so much, like you could hear me right now, I'm comfortable. Like I'm on Zoom, I'm at my computer, and there's just a different level of comfort that I feel like a lot of guys have, and it gets a lot of stuff out of them. But it is a little weird, but maybe you're talking to guys that you may not never have an opportunity to meet in person.
Yeah.
So it's cool in that sense, but obviously I would prefer to be at a baseball game.
Do you have a favorite interview? I'm sure there's so many, it's hard to pick, but is there one player that you just sat down with and you guys talked on and on, or was there something about any particular interview that you really kind of have with you still?
I get that question all the time, and I honestly, I just can't answer it. There's so many. What you brought up a good point of talking for a while. One guy who I think of is Julio Bourbon, who played for the Patriots.
Yep.
We talked for 20 minutes, gave me a great interview. Let's see. Logan Kensing, who also pitched for the Patriots. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Those are two that just pop into my mind. Those were a couple years back.
You interviewed Clark Schmidt, right, for the Yankees?
Yes, I did. That was That was fun. It was 2 weeks after he got drafted, actually. So my grandma lives, another story, whatever. My grandma lives in Florida, right between the Phillies, Blue Jays, and Yankees facilities because they're all like 10 miles from each other.
Yeah.
So every year, right after the draft, when all the guys are there, and there's like 100 minor league guys at one spot, which is awesome. I go down and do interviews and set up and all that, and also go to Florida State League games, which is advanced day. So it was a couple weeks after he got drafted. He was there, met Anthony Siegler, didn't interview him. Same thing with Matt Sauer, who was their second round pick that year. A lot of those guys. So interviewing him was fun. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him pitch yet because he's only pitched in high A and double A and haven't been able to get to any of those games. But hopefully really soon we'll obviously see him in the Yankee uniform.
Yeah. How did you start with Double G? Because I know you've been writing there for a little bit.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, I was kind of, I wouldn't say bored with the interviews, but I was looking to do more. And obviously, since I'm a reporter, was into writing. So I just saw on Twitter, actually, they just tweeted out, "We're looking for writers. If you have any interest in writing about sports, contact us." So I emailed the owner, Greg, and he said, "You're 14. I don't know what you're going to do, but have fun, like write about whatever you want, kind of. Here are your rules. Here's how you post." And I kind of went wild with it at all the minor league games. I would write up little prospect profiles about guys. Same thing with the Somerset Patriots. Covered a few games. For me, I'm really into like the personal stories.
Yeah.
So the profile feature kind of thing. So I've done a lot of those for them for a couple of years, still going strong. And now I'm covering a lot of, since during this pandemic, there's no minor league stuff. I'm covering a lot of MLB news right now. So I just finished writing about the Mets yesterday. They're with the protests and everything yesterday. And I have an article coming soon about the playoff bubble that's brewing and all that.
So what are your thoughts on like this 60-game season? Like it's insane, but what are you thinking? What's the takeaways here?
The biggest takeaway is in baseball, everything is a routine, right? I'm sure that, you see that, the way you take BP for a game, travel on the road, get to your games, all that. And everything with those routines has been completely messed up this year for players. So I kind of see on the player standpoint that it's not ideal. Oh, so the other thing is I've been really disappointed this season with the blackouts in television with Major League Baseball because with so many games canceled, especially Mets Yankees, right? So here we get SNY, Yes Network, and then usually there's not games on MLB Network. It's always MLB Tonight or another show like that. And then usually there's not games unless it's a big game, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN or Fox Sports. So there's been a huge lack of games to watch. And for me, like I'm a big Trevor Bauer guy.
Yeah.
The only time I've been able to watch Trevor Bauer was during one of his outings where I watched it on one of those Reddit stream sites because I can't watch it.
Yeah.
It's made me honestly pretty mad. And I love seeing baseball, but I wish there was more, and I wish the league was doing more.
So for those of you guys who don't know, Eli, Yankees fan as well, big Yankees fan, as myself. So I kind of have some topic of discussion here for us, like regarding the team, regarding what's going on. I mean, what's up with this losing streak? 6 games in a row, I think it is now. We just lost to the Mets game 1 of the doubleheader. What's going on?
I've honestly kind of seen it as the expanded playoffs haven't made them tank, like intentionally go to the bottom, but they're not quite trying as hard when they've got a lead. They're not quite throwing their best bullpen guys out there. They're doing a lot of experimenting this year, which is good and bad, but I feel like it has hurt them a lot. I mean, they're still 16-12 right now, and they're still in a playoff position. And I do think they're still definitely going to make the playoffs, but they still need to get it together. And I feel like they are a team that has been injury plagued, and they will continue to be. But I am confident in a couple of things. One, that at the trade deadline, just this week, which is crazy, the season's like more than halfway done. But I'm confident at the trade deadline they'll make some moves and get some starting pitching. Confident that Clark Schmidt's going to be up, and they have some other guys, Domingo Acevedo, guys like that, Davy Garcia, who are going to be called up soon to help them out. So, I'm confident. I know they're going to make the playoffs, but I just wish they would put their best foot forward, which I feel like they haven't done this season.
You think we're ever gonna beat the Rays? I mean, we've gotten what, one game out of them?
I don't know. Honestly, my second favorite team I would say right now has to be the Rays, just because of their depth and how that young they are. And I'm a big Rays guy, like the way they created the opener and just the way they put some small things in the game and play small ball, some things that you don't realize. But they're a tough team to beat. They're one of those teams that it doesn't matter if they're down. They're going to give you Alvarez or Rowe or one of those tough guys. It doesn't matter how much they're down by. So, they are a tough team to beat.
I mean, on paper, like offensively, it should be a duel between these two. And just we've
Yeah.
been getting shut down. Their pitching obviously is great, but like, we're not facing Snell every game, and they don't have, everyone in their bullpen all at the same time. So I'm kind of hoping at one point, like come the postseason with the expanded brackets and everything, expanded seating, like if we face them, I'm gonna be nervous personally. Just I don't know what's gonna happen there.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be nervous?
Yeah,
But um yeah, and also for them too, their starting pitching hasn't been as good as we all expected with Morton having COVID, and then Glass now, or Morton and Glass now actually have COVID, and they're back, but they're still not pitching as well as the Rays would expect.
right.
Um, and Snell not pitching too well, but yeah, they're a hard team to beat, and I feel like I love the rivalry. I feel like it's a fun rivalry. It's turning into a good one.
I think it's definitely, at least this year, definitely better than the Red Sox. Yankees, Red Sox, it's
Yeah.
kind of like it was an easy 4-game sweep last time around. It's like, you're not even expecting really a big fight back and forth. Um, but yeah, I mean, Garrett Cole, almost all of his earned runs on homers that killed us the other day against the Braves. Like, were you expecting that of him? Because the Yankees are very good at making pitchers do very poorly, at least for a season or two. Was that kind of something that you saw coming, or what's your kind of thoughts on his numbers here?
I don't have his. I would look up his numbers, but I don't think he's. I don't. I think he's got very high expectations coming to New York,
Yeah,
and I think that he's doing okay. He's doing well. He's not doing bad by any stretch, but he's not quite doing as well as Yankee fans hoped. And in terms of the home runs, another thing I have to say, the balls are most definitely 100% juiced,
oh yeah,
even more than last year.
oh yeah,
It's ridiculous the amount of home runs that have gone out, and the ones that look like fly balls off the bat. Like Pete Alonso, his home run in the Yankees game, like was
yep.
crushed a line drive, but it just looked like it looked like it was rising.
Brett
So
Gardner,
yeah,
no way he's going the opposite field with the home run. Like early in the season, there's no way.
yeah, it's been interesting, but I think Cole's going to come around. We've got what 12 more years, so
I'm hoping so. I mean, we meet him this year, and
yeah.
that kind of transitions into my next question here. Like, trade deadline. You said you're a big Bauer guy. I've said on the channel before, Bauer's probably my favorite pitcher in the game at the moment. That could be a possibility, right? Like, if we maybe put a little package together, you think that's a rental possibility for the Yankees?
I knew you were going to ask that question. Was looking forward to it. But then when I was just on Twitter, I think Jeff Passan tweeted out that the Reds are looking to be buyers, and I don't know if they're going to be willing to trade Bauer, which is unfortunate. I would absolutely love to see him in New York.
Yeah,
And with like fans, I think the biggest thing for him is he pitches around fans, and the fans like go to him like he's a fan favorite guy for
yeah.
everyone. Most people in the game love him. Real baseball people love him. So, I think he would do great in that sense in New York. Dealing with the media and stuff, I don't know. That's another worry about Clevenger as well, unfortunately. I feel like I literally have a video coming out on the YouTube, about trade deadline targets and talking about all that. And I just say that I feel like Mike Clevenger would 100% turn into a Sonny Gray situation in New York, just because I feel like he puts a lot of pressure on himself already. Maybe in a season with no fans, though, he would do well. Same
Yeah.
thing with Bauer, but I would love to see Bauer in the pinstripes. I would absolutely love that.
And he has mentioned, I believe I've read from Rosenthal or passing somewhere on Twitter that he's willing to do 1-year deals and not really stick around with one particular team. Is that, I mean, we just got Cole last year. We got DJ. We got a lot of big upcoming, all-stars that are going to hit free agency this winter. But is Bauer maybe a move that we get for like a year or two and lock him down?
I think he's a rental kind of guy, especially for the Yankees who are kind of touchy-feely with where they want to go. It feels like every year they're going in a different direction in terms of their organization, whether that be young guys, old guys, power hitters, line drive hitters, speed, stuff like that. It feels like they're changing every year. So for a guy like Bauer and his metrics and personality, I feel like, and even just his style of pitching, I think he would definitely be a rental. And especially in this year where they would want success and want to win, he's the kind of guy who you bring in right when you want to win. So even wherever he goes next year, if the Yankees need a starting pitcher, I wouldn't be surprised if they chase after him. Hopefully at this deadline, they chase after him.
Yeah. Now, do you watch any of his stuff on YouTube, like the Momentum, like the vlogs
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff? Yeah, I'm big on those
Oh
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched every single vlog. I
Yep.
look forward to it the most, and it sure does give you a good perspective on
Yeah.
what the players are going through, what Manfred is doing to the players. Yeah, it's interesting.
I watched the Bauer Bites as well, like the big like half-hour episodes, like the
Yep.
round table and stuff. Those are great. I think more players need to like step up and do that. And like Bauer being the first to take initiative, that's something that you look up to, especially guys like us,
Yeah.
trying to get into, all this and reporting and, broadcasting, interviewing, whatever. Like that's awesome to see just where players come from.
Absolutely. In every single Bauer Bites, he brings up the best point, which is exactly what you said, that the MLB needs to market its players. And
Yeah.
I love how I think it was Alex Wood in the first episode was talking about how for the Dodgers, they had cameramen following them around. And
Yeah.
what they did, the Dodgers do, is they follow the players around, mic them up, whatever, and they make videos for them and send them to them that night and send
Yeah.
pictures to them that night to post on social media. So they're right on top of it. The players can get them out. They don't have to do any work. And that is absolutely beautiful,
Yeah.
especially since all the work that Trevor Bauer goes through, to put these videos out. So, yeah, I think that's what the game needs to do. And he talks about it in all of his videos that, let the kids play. Let them wear the free Joe Kelly cleats
Yeah.
and let him film himself taking a COVID test, stuff like that.
So actually, no, I kind of want to get into like, what do you think of the whole Joe Kelly and Ramon Laureano? What are your thoughts? I mean, we both aren't fans of the Astros with everything that's been going on, but are you for that? Are you against it? Just what's your general idea here?
I feel like for me, I'm right in the middle between an old school guy and a let the kids play kind of guy. I haven't quite picked a side yet, but I am an old school kind of guy in terms if you say something or seriously show up a pitcher or show up the entire league like the Houston Astros you do, I feel like you deserve a hit in the back.
Yeah,
Like if I threw 96 and I pitched for the Red Sox or the Dodgers in 2017 and Carlos Correa steps up to the plate, I'm most definitely hitting him in the back.
yeah,
And I love that style of baseball. I love the brawls. I love the talking back and forth. I love the little face that Joe Kelly made.
yeah,
And Laureano, I feel like that was just anger overall. That wasn't necessarily geared towards the Astros.
yeah.
Kelly's definitely was. And I just got to say, free Joe Kelly.
Yeah.
Because
Free Joe
8 games, it got reduced to 6, I think. But the fact that he was given 8 games in the first place, even 6, is absolutely ridiculous. Like
Kelly.
Yuli Gurriel on the Astros, if you remember, he did the racist thing towards Yu Darvish in the playoffs
Yeah,
and got 6 games.
yeah,
And Joe Kelly, when he beat the crap out of Tyler Austin, when he hit him in the back, punched him in the face, he got less games than he did for throwing a fastball that I do think got away. There was
yeah.
just one fastball that got away from him.
And yeah, we mentioned 6 games here, and then you mentioned Yuli Gurriel 6 games, but in a season like this, 60 games, those 6 games mean more than six in a 162 game span. So I think it's definitely a little bit of over exaggeration on Manfred's end or whoever, issued out the punishments, but like they've not been good with handling the Astros.
Yeah.
Players are taking it into their own hands. It's like, I don't know. And Laureano was like baited out off of first base. He didn't even
Oh
do it.
yeah.
He got hit by a pitch. He just got baited out by what was it, the hitting coach?
Yeah, that was the first good suspension that Major League Baseball has laid
Yeah.
down in a long time. He got 20 games. The Astros coach who baited him on. I thought that was honestly hilarious. How it was 2 curveballs that Laureano got hit on.
Yeah.
And right after he gets hit, he walks out to the pitcher and he
Yeah.
snap the wrist, snap the
Yeah.
wrist. That's how you throw a curveball. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. That was awesome. I'm really liking just the season. Like it's a lot different than what we're used to, but it's fun. It's energetic. We're seeing the cleats. We're seeing personality, and we're seeing like scary teams come out of nowhere. Kind of
Yeah.
like the Blue Jays have a shot at the postseason. They just picked up Taiwan Walker, Dan Vogelback. Do you have any like sleeper teams halfway through the season, a little bit more, going for September 29th?
My original team was the A's.
Okay.
They have been plagued by some injuries and some slumps. Like Laureano or Chris Davis is hitting like 190.
Yeah.
Laureano's not doing too hot. But I got to stick with them just because, like I said, the Rays were my other sleeper team too. You know what? Actually, I'll go with the Rays.
Okay.
Just like I said, they've got so much depth. Like similar to the Yankees have this too. The amount of absolute studs that they have in the minor leagues or AAA that you've never heard of and are amazing, you'd be surprised. Like, I've gone to a few games for their Charlotte Stone Crabs, their advanced A team, and been around their complex. Like, they're just great. And then, how I said, they fight till the end. They play small ball. They're smart with the way they bring pitchers in and put pinch runners in and pinch hitters in and all that. They're my sleeper pick. And their depth, they could have 10 guys. Same thing with the Yankees. They could have 10 guys go on the injured list, 10 guys get corona, and they've got an entire MLB good team.
Yeah. So I mean, the Yankees, we saw that a lot last year. Like our B team stepped up, and all those players were instant starters, and they did really well. Mike Tauchman, Gio Urshela. Urshela's been a little sketchy this year, just in the sense where he hasn't been
Yeah.
producing as much. The average is a bit down. What are you kind of thinking about, Urshela or someone like Tauchman? Was Urshela kind of like was last year just like a fluke, or is that something that maybe continues in a regular season, like back in 2021? What are you kind of thinking there?
I wouldn't say it was a fluke. I think he's an all-around good player, and he'll definitely turn around. Or his career average, I would say, would definitely be still around 300. And I feel like the Yankees are just a team that has guys step up. Like Luke Voigt's hitting like 320.
Oh
He's
yeah,
hitting leadoff. He's on an absolute roll. So I'm not necessarily worried about having one guy down. One thing I do have to say is I'm disappointed that Miguel Andujar has gotten so much time in the outfield specifically. I feel like he should be having more of an opportunity to play third base while Urshela is in a slump, and maybe Urshela should even go down to AAA right now. But yeah, I think I think he had an injury as well, but he's still not hitting great.
yeah.
So yeah, what I say, Andujar, go to third base, get a ton of reps at third base, turn the bat around a little, turn his defense around a little bit, get him out of the outfield because I was super disappointed at the beginning of the season how much he was playing the outfield when he's not an outfielder. He can't play outfielder. He misreads a ton of balls. And if you need to, send Urshela down. Get those reps against those good arms that the Yankees have at the alternate site.
I was okay with Andujar in the outfield for a little bit, but then once I saw he wasn't producing at the plate, I'm like, if he's not doing it in
Yeah.
defensive region and he's not hitting, there's no need for him to be out there over someone like Talkman or dare to say Gardner. Gardner's my favorite player, so I'm very biased
Okay.
towards Brett. But like someone at least that will produce or put up better at bats and can play the ball in the outfield. But I don't know. I mean, I like Andujar. I'm a big fan of his. By the way, do you think that AL Rookie of the Year should go to Otani?
Should have gone.
Yeah, like should it have been Andujar over Otani, or would?
That's a tough one. I think Otani because he's a two-way
Okay.
and even half of the year on the mound, like he was pretty dirty. Like he had even like a 3.7 ERA, which he had, and like a 290 batting average. If you like that, being able to do both of those is great, and he shows his pop. That splitter is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So honestly, like even though I am a Yankee fan, I would say I still think Otani deserves it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Me too. I just, of course, at the moment I was upset. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
Andujar, because he put up great numbers in his rookie season, and
yeah,
it hasn't been like that since. But that may be a guy that we maybe see packaged at the deadline. You think that that's something that's possible if Miguel Andujar is on the move?
Honestly, I don't think so, just because he's one of those guys like Urshela who could just like that turn it around and who could be a big part of that lineup. And I mean, I'm trying to think of who they can get for him because I feel like there's so much trade value on the Yankees right now. Like for me, there's three guys: Mike Ford, Tyro Estrada, and Tyler Wade. Those three guys. Think about you got power, speed, versatility, everything.
Yeah.
That package. I feel like those three guys, you could get Clevenger and Bauer in the same group. And they're also under contract for a while, have their contract for a while. So I feel like there's so much trade value where a guy like Andujar, where if you are really confident he's going to turn it around, and honestly his trade stock isn't that high right now because of he hasn't been playing great, or he hasn't been playing horribly. But I feel like there are better trade options for the Yankees, honestly.
Clint Frazier. I mean, this guy
Oh,
has turned himself around as a person, as a player. 2020's been a good year for him. And I picked him up for my fantasy team, and I do not regret that decision whatsoever. The guy's been a beast.
oh yeah. I feel like that time in the minors, he just built up the anger.
Yeah.
He's just so talented. I actually interviewed him a couple years ago and saw him at the Yankees complex. He's one of those guys where the ball just sounds different off of the bat. Like he's he's a good player. I wish the Yankees saw that earlier. Maybe last year it could have helped them a lot in the playoffs. But now that there's an opening, I mean, I'd honestly rather have Frazier over Stanton, or
Yeah.
at sometimes not this year, but sometimes Frazier over Judge.
I mean, what do you think with the injuries too? Like Judge first goes on the 10-day IL, says, "No, I think I'm okay. They should just put me on day to day. I want to be ready to play."
Yeah.
First game he comes back, he goes right back, with the same injury. Is that what are the Yankees doing to their players? You said earlier there's a routine that's missing, but what is with the Yankees specifically? Pitchers, outfielders, backup catchers, Kyle Higashioka. He barely saw any playing time when
Yeah.
he got hurt. Like, what are we doing wrong?
I don't know. I thought it was super funny this year when they changed out their entire medical
Yeah.
staff,
Yep.
and I literally thought maybe it was actually something they were giving him, or just like the way they did their treatment, or maybe they were bringing in someone with like the new metric,
Yeah.
stems technology stuff. But I guess it's the Yankees just a injury prone team. Maybe it's because all of our guys are absolutely huge, like Stanton and
Yeah.
even Higgy and Sanchez, and
DJ's
Judge. They're all just
6'4",
massive
right?
guys. Yep,
He's
he's
huge.
huge.
Yeah. Do you kind of think that maybe some of the problems with the Yankees here is because they're missing a DJ or a Judge in the lineup, or is that more just we're not playing great baseball?
Absolutely. I mean, even in the clubhouse, not having your top guys around you, like having LeMahieu, Judge, um, Stanton, all those guys, either at home or at the alternate site away from the team, have affected them a lot. Actually, Stanton, I watched his press conference earlier. He's back with the team,
Okay.
kind of helping rally around, but still not playing, not having those guys on the field. And you by taking Judge and LeMahieu out of the lineup, you just took two, like they're both hitting. I think Judge was around 300 and LeMahieu was at like 340, 350.
Yeah.
So by taking those guys out of the lineup, I mean, it doesn't matter what team you're on. You're taking those are two big gaps in the lineup.
Do you have a favorite player currently? It's hard to pick one, but do you have a favorite on that Yankees team?
Hmm, that's tough. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know for me, of course, Derek Jeter had to be a favorite, especially growing up, like young, growing up watching Jeter
Oh
and
yeah.
A-Rod. Once Jeter retired, I was like big on Brett Gardner, and he's just kind of stuck. He's always been there. Aaron Judge, big, obviously, face of the team at the moment, but it's hard. We have a lot of great players on the team, and I think just for a team in general, it's hard to pick a favorite player. But I think for me personally, you got to go Brett.
I like Luke Voigt. I'm a big Luke Voigt
Okay.
guy.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, the Yankees are good at picking up guys who just teams gave up on. Like Luke Voigt was one of them. The Cardinals just didn't really seem to care. Gio Urshela with the Blue Jays, they didn't really see a spot for him. Imagine Gio in his breakout season last year and even this year with the young Blue Jays at the moment. Like,
Yeah. I still don't even know if you have a spot on that team. Like the Blue Jays, like
yeah,
Bo. What's their infield? It's Bo, Vladdy. Who's at third base? Is it Drury?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's like kind of middle infield, just kind of utility.
Yeah, but the Blue Jays are just so young and good. But yeah, the Yankees have always had a good eye for even guys out of like Mike Ford, who was
Yeah,
undrafted out of Princeton, and he was primarily a pitcher. Like he was a two-way player,
yeah.
and the Yankees picked him up, saw potential for power. Same thing with Hawkman from AAA for the Colorado Rockies. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's all the money that they've got that they can afford the best scouting people. But actually, all their scouting people that they hired for a gazillion dollars went to the Marlins when Jeter went.
Yeah, yeah. What was your reaction to Jeter buying the Marlins? Do you remember?
Um, I don't quite remember. I thought, looking back on it, I feel like he has no effect on the field production of the team, and also like all the trading stuff. I honestly say that Jose Fernandez was the biggest piece of when Jose Fernandez left. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
passed away. That was the downfall of the Miami Marlins. Not at all Derek Jeter coming in and chipping away all of those guys.
I remember being like really shocked, like why would you buy the Marlins, and then like co-own the team. Like that was my original thought process, and then people are saying, "Oh, it was intentional. The Yankees told them to do it so they could get stay." And it's like, all the fun conspiracies. They're cool, but it's,
Yeah.
I was just, I was definitely taken aback when I got the ESPN or MLB notification, like Jeter co-owns Marlins.
No, I loved that couple weeks of memes and all that. And I think it's going to be the exact same thing when Alex Rodriguez is the new Mets owner.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up actually. I mean, that'll be a fun rivalry though. If we see A Rod and J Lo go in on the Mets and it's Mets Marlins, that's gonna be cool. You know?
Honestly, I think A-Rod's buying of the Mets is going to be huge for the sports industry, not because of on the field, but what's interesting is like from doing research, and I even wrote an article about it. Um, they were able to get like they're athletes, right? Athletes make millions of dollars, but compared to hedge fund and Wall Street people like Cohen, who his net worth is like 3 billion compared to A Rod's only 300 million, which for that level of business is so low. For the ability for dozens of athletes to come together, like DeMarco Murray and Brian Urlacher and all those guys came together to kind of hopefully beat those big, rich, crazy people. I think that's going to be good and influential for sports overall. And hopefully A Rod and J Lo can put some of their magic into the Mets too.
Yeah. And Patrick Mahomes just went in on the Royals right a couple
Yep.
weeks ago.
Yep.
So,
That too.
yeah. I like where baseball's heading, minus some of the things that are going on. What do you think about Rob Manfred? Because I think that's a discussion that has to be had.
Yeah, I do think he catches a lot of blame because he is in that commissioner spot. But remember, the commissioner is kind of run by all 30 owners. Like the commissioner is the face of baseball, but the 30 owners are the people who are kind of running it.
Yeah.
So I feel like he gets a lot of the blame, but maybe he actually deserves it. I have no idea. Yeah, I feel like that's an interesting thing. Players, we know how much players make. We can look up how much they make, where that money goes, where their money is coming from, right?
Yeah.
How do we know where the MLB owner's money goes, where it comes from? How do we know how much money Rob Manfred spends on different resources? We don't. So I feel like there needs to be more transparency for anyone in the sports world to even answer that question, and there should be. Um, I don't know. I mean, he takes a lot of the blame, but there's just so much that MLB messes up with.
And personally, I'm big on let the kids play. And then the free Joe Kelly cleats with Trevor Bauer.
Yeah.
Trevor's at risk of being suspended and fined and thrown out of the game. Like, you're kind of just going against the whole catchphrase, the whole morale of baseball at the moment.
Yeah, and going back to what I said about A-Rod and how that's going to be influential, a big reason for that, according to Bauer, was Scott Boras is completely against Trevor Bauer because of stuff that Bauer has done towards the game and how he's affected, how Boras's players have been affected contract-wise by Bauer and tweets between one another. And I feel like because of who he is, Boras has such a hand on Major League Baseball. I'm sure he could call up Rob Manfred and do whatever he wants, and apparently that's what happened. That's what Bauer said, because they weren't allowing him to film his testing, and Bauer said, "Thank you, Scott Boras. That's all your fault." And I think it might have been similar to that with the free Joe Kelly cleats, and I don't know. I wish they let him wear them, but I honestly do think it was a great publicity thing to get eyes on baseball, get eyes on Rob Manfred, get eyes on Trevor Bauer, and get eyes on people like Scott Boras and the owners who are kind of running the game.
Yeah, I can't say enough how much I think Trevor Bauer is an influence and a role model. He's gonna be one of the reasons why if Major League Baseball goes into marketing, like they're doing a poor job of it. We've already touched on it a little bit before, but Mike Trout and Mookie Betts aren't the only players in Major League Baseball, and Aaron Judge. You got to dig deeper. You got to go to some of these like pitchers or some of these guys who, maybe aren't making as much money as like a Mike Trout. And you have to see their roots. You get to see what it's all about. And I mean, that's huge, and that's going to be a big turning point for Major League Baseball, one that ever does come about.
Exactly. I guarantee you there are so many guys who, if they had the resources or time or money or whatever it may be, would love to do exactly what Trevor Bauer does. But because of MLB's not great ability to market players, we just haven't seen that.
Is there anything in Major League Baseball right now you're just like you're looking at and you're excited for, like that this postseason bubble, or the possibility of it? Is that something that you're looking forward to?
Um, I would say I'm just looking forward to the playoffs overall because I feel like I don't know one, as we discussed, there's not going to be any blackouts. Every game is going to be on national television, which I very much look forward to. But also, I don't know what it is about the season, but it just feels like we haven't been seeing the best baseball that there's been in the past. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is the lack of marketing, but I feel like there's been a lack of 600-foot home runs and a lack of crazy walk-offs or balks or crazy air-filled plays or whatever it may be. I just feel like there's been a lack of it this year.
We're both, we go attend Somerset Patriots games, and we've been there for a while. We see the transition from these 9-inning games to 7-inning games, at least for Somerset this year with the Somerset Professional Baseball Series. These doubleheaders for Major League Baseball, though. You like the 7 innings? You for it, against it?
I'm for it in the sense that one of the biggest goals of Major League Baseball right now is to knock out games like that and 8, 7, 16, 14, my bad math, but 14 innings and boom, there you knock out 2 games on a 60-game schedule, which is huge. And for hitters and even mainly bullpen guys, they absolutely love it. You knock out a couple of games. If you're hot for one game, chances are you're hot for the next. So I like them, and I feel like they're going to be good for the game. But what I don't like about it is that they're during the day, and it's obviously much easier for people to watch and to market, and it's obviously easier to be on national television when it's a primetime game. So that's the only thing I don't like about them. But everything else, love it.
I like the doubleheaders, just not 2 and 3 days like the Yankees and Mets now. Doubleheader today, 1 game tomorrow, doubleheader Sunday. It's
It just
like,
makes me more scared for injuries. It just makes
yeah.
me more scared.
And teams like the Yankees, like we can't afford more guys to go down.
Yep.
We've lost a lot of bullpen guys and rotation arms, and our better bats are all on the IL. It's like
I saw some crazy stat the other day. I think it was like 22% of Major League Baseball's active rosters have been on the injury list, or 22% of their opening day rosters have been
okay.
on the injured list at some point this season, which it's crazy.
And a team like the Cardinals, I forget what it was, but they came in and started playing late in August, and they had to play like 21 games. I think it was 21 games, something like that, in the
Something
end
like
of this
that.
month, and then a whole lot crammed into September. Guys are going to get hurt. You're not going to do well. A team like the Cardinals need games to go their way, because they are pushing for a postseason berth. And it's like that leaves a lot of room for error and for just teams to not come together and play well. Of course, you can't do much with the 60 game schedule that we're given and like the structure of this year, and it's all unprecedented. But I mean, I just wish that there was more time to fit all this in.
Yeah, I honestly, not anymore, but at one point I thought that they were going to do something like cut it off at 40 games and let everyone else catch up and have everyone else practice or play inter squads or do another whole nother summer camp to make the playoffs more competitive. And at one point, when it was the Cardinals and Mets and Marlins all at one time, what I thought, and I thought maybe they should have done, was take another break and have 6 more weeks of summer camp and
Yeah,
even 6 more weeks of exhibition games, and then do the same thing as the I don't I think it's the MLS who did it. Is you have like 15 games at the end of the season to decide the playoff bracket, and then from there every team is in the playoffs, and it's a massive MLB playoffs, which I think would have been super exciting. It's kind of too late to do that. I mean, I would love to see it. I think that's a good idea for the future too. Um, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to be in a situation like this.
yeah, I hope not. But I was definitely looking forward to the season, and when there were rumors that it would be canceled or that it would start and get shut down within 2 weeks, Manfred was kind of like pushing that, oh, we're gonna shut down, we're gonna not play, and it's like it's a bad look for baseball. But I'm glad it's back, and I'm sure as we all are. It's just it's a crazy way. Like now the deadline is 2, 3 days away. We're gonna go into a playoff, format just about 3.5, 4 weeks later. I do like the expanded playoffs though, and the 3 game wild card series. I'm a fan of that. I don't know if you liked the 1 game wild card matchups previous years, but I do like the best of three.
I I'm mixed for a couple reasons. The first is that I feel like in one game, in terms of pitching, you get the most out of your pitching. The A's against Rays wild card game last year was one of the most exciting games I've ever watched because the Rays, I think Charlie Morton went like 4 shutout innings, and then it was all bullpen. And the A's was an entire bullpen game. So every inning is an entirely different battle. And I feel like in one game, there's a lot more strategy to be had than in 3 games. But I do feel like 3 games kind of evens the playing field a bit, where you get to see the entire roster play out.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of mixed. I don't know if I could decide on that one, but I do like the expanded playoffs because it does just make it more exciting. And mainly, as we talked about earlier, we want more exciting baseball games and
Yep.
expanded playoffs, more teams, more exciting baseball games.
At this point, do you have a World Series pick? What the matchup's gonna look like and who's gonna win it?
Whew, let's see. Um, I've stuck with the Dodgers
Yeah.
throughout, even though they've had their ups and downs. Um, huh. For the AL, that's tough. I like the Padres too.
Okay.
Padres young and up and coming. AL, AL. My original pick was the Rays.
Yep.
I was actually between the Rays and Astros, but
The Astros aren't really
Astros
a
not at all
choice.
a contender. I thought because everyone was so angry at them, it was going to like fuel them, but I was extremely wrong,
Yeah.
um, which I'm fine with.
Right.
Let's see. I mean, I might have to stick with the Rays,
Okay.
just because when they're completely healthy, they're as good or better than the Yankees. And but I do have to say, if the Yankees have every single guy who's on the IL except for like Canely because he's injured, if the Yankees have their entire team healthy and they add Clark Schmidt, I think the Yankees are the World Series champs.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely.
I like it.
The problem is if you have Paxton down and Judge down, no shot. Or if
Yeah.
you have just LeMahieu or even maybe just Judge or just Torres and Judge, we haven't even talked about Gleyber Torres. I mean, he's gone
Yeah.
too.
Oh my. Yeah.
So I feel like it's all about injuries for the Yankees.
I mean, I think going into this year, they were definitely a pick, like the easy pick almost for the American League,
Yeah.
because you know we see so many great guys. Garrett Cole comes over, and what was their biggest issue last year? Pitching. We just solved with one of the best pitchers in the AL in 2019, and now everything's kind of crumbling apart again, and it's not looking good for them. I think it is very realistic for the Rays to make it to this point. And just kind of a few final things to touch on because I don't want to take up too much time here going forward. But Dodgers, Mookie Betts. As a Yankees fan, I was so happy he was out of our division. But now he's on a team that we might potentially face a lot come the postseason. You have similar reactions. What was your initial, basis for that big trade?
What honestly I've loved about it is as a Yankees fan, the entire Red Sox organization and lineup has just crumbled.
Yeah.
Which as you love to see it as a Yankees fan.
Yep.
I mean, I'm fine facing them in the playoffs. As I said, if the Yankees are healthy, I'll happily face any team in the playoffs. But a Dodgers Yankees World Series would be so historic and so fun.
And then you brought up the Padres, and then immediately makes me go back to Fernando Tatis Jr. swinging 3-0, up 7, and I think in the 8th inning against the Rangers. Are you pro swinging 3-0 or against?
I think the game is still in a transition period from the old school to the let the kids play, and
Yeah,
that was the perfect example of we need a new generation to come in
yeah,
because the fact that there was such a divide in that situation, I didn't like. Because if my least favorite part of it was the fact that Eric Hosmer sat on the bench next to Tatis
and
and then
apologize. Made
and
him apologize. Yeah.
made him apologize. And I'm sure you watched the John Boy video too.
Yep.
The look on Fernando Tatis's face just made me mad, sad, whatever. Like
Yeah.
he looked like he was about to cry. Like he's like a kindergartner and his teacher's yelling at him, Hosmer, which I feel like that situation. But I feel like the entire Major League Baseball, all Major League Baseball needs to be on the same page with that. You swing 3-0, you don't. The only thing I think the only thing I didn't like about it was how late it was in the game.
Yeah. 8th inning.
Because 8th inning, 7 runs, but you got to think about it. Like if you're in the major leagues, it's 3-0.
Yeah.
You're looking for a pitch you're one of the best, most exciting young players in baseball, and you see a big meaty 3-0 pitch come in middle away, looking to take it the other way, and you're just not going to swing at it
Yeah.
because you're afraid that you're going to upset the baseball gods. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying too, like the Padres manager goes up to him and then in his press conference says he shouldn't have done that. It's like he's one of the faces of the franchise. He's getting paid to play baseball, to swing the bat. He's a young star who's gonna market baseball as well. You can't be against your own player, and you cannot not support him. Like you have to go ahead and you have to back him in a situation like that.
It made me super angry. And like as I said, Chase Tingler, old school guy,
Yep.
he's who's one of those guys who develops through the minors and as a coach and likes his raw old school baseball players. Just like Woodward, the Rangers manager, because they actually worked together with the
Yeah.
Rangers for a while. And I feel like they both have a lot of same beliefs, and as do a lot of managers. Because like the managers, no manager in baseball right now has played in this generation of baseball.
Right.
So I feel like every single manager, even the managers we love, like Boone and Girardi and Rocco Baldelli and Cora, or unfortunately not
Yeah.
anymore. I love Alex Cora as a manager, but those kind of guys who are the best managers, the players managers, they still have never played in an atmosphere like 2020 or even in the new school of baseball. So it's unfortunate, and you also just don't think about it as much. Like in a high school baseball game, 3-0, it doesn't matter what the score is. I'm not thinking about that at all.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Tatis goes back to say, I think in his interview, that he didn't know necessarily that that was a thing. And I feel bad for him because he's a
Oh yeah.
fun guy to watch. Like, I would love to see that. I mean, Garrett Cole for the Yankees spoke out on it. He said, I think it was Cole, he said, it's hard to hit a grand slam. So if you're in that situation, you get a 3-0 count like that, and you hit that, you have that pitch, give it your best shot, you know? And I think that's truly the mentality that guys have to have, including the managers who are old school, but and we're turning the page here. It's a new era of baseball, and I think that's gonna be something that changes very quickly with everything that's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, well, I think I'm pretty much good for this, and we brought up all the topics that I had written down. Anything that you want to touch on really quick?
I think that's just about it. We covered a lot. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed
Yeah, me too.
talking. Like, I love I love any opportunity to talk baseball, and we covered everything. A lot of good stuff.
I'm excited. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Maybe come playoffs, come the end of the season, we sit down again, kind of reflect on everything. But it was
Definitely,
really fun.
definitely.
Really excited.
Yes. Love this.
Well, thank you for being here. That is Eli Fishman, writer for Double G Sports and Talking Ball with Eli Fishman, his YouTube channel. I'll leave the links down below in the description. Thank you for watching, guys. See you all next time. Peace. Thanks, Eli.
Thank you so much.